Alright, today we're going to tie up a Smoke Wagon by Kelly Galloup. Got a size 6 streamer hook, 3x long. Going to add some wraps of 0.20 lead-free wire just to give it a little added weight. Today I'm using a Vivas 150 denier GSP thread, but any thread, something heavier, probably 140 and up will work just fine. Do our tail, some white marabou on the bottom. I like to use some of the fibers that are not quite so webby, so more of the pointy ones without all the fuzziness. Go ahead and tie those in, wrap them all the way up to the front, build our body underneath, tie it all down, wrap that up good. Then we're going to add some olive marabou over the top on the tail. The fly is pretty much just olive and white marabou, and then a little ice dub in between. We're gonna stack these sections of marabou, so I'm tying in the tail right back to where the white started there. Tie that all down. Get this wrapped down good, and then we're gonna create a dubbing loop. And you could hand dub the ice dub, but I think the dubbing loop kind of gives you a tighter, more consistent dubbing noodle, and it's kind of easier to work with. I'm using gray UV ice dub, but pearl would work just fine. This has a little bit more of a purpleness to it and a little darker than the pearl, which I kind of like for a lateral line. Imitates a kind of a shiner that I've seen in our waters. Yeah, nice tight dubbing noodle. Wrap forward to about the halfway point of the hook. So we're going to have a stack in the middle and then a stack in the front. So you want to go about halfway with this one. I'm a little short of halfway, but I'm going to add a hot spot kind of head on this one. So when you factor that in, that's about halfway. So here's the first stack, white marabou on the bottom. You want to go about halfway, about halfway down your tail with that stack. And then we're going to repeat the same process with olive on the top. Again, you want to kind of make this stack end the midpoint of the tail. Tie that in good. Trim, and then tie down those butt ends. And then we're going to do another dubbing loop. Use the rotary here. You butt it up against those first stacks, and then after a couple of good wraps, pull it down, tighten it up good. Then advance forward. Again, this is not quite all the way to the front, but we're going to do one more stack, and then I'm going to, like I said, build a little bit of a head on this one. So if you were doing a bead or a cone, which you could also put on this instead of the lead, or in addition to the lead, you'd probably want to proportion it about this way to leave, room behind that cone or bead to finish the fly. So I'm using a little bit of a webbier fiber here at the front. As you can see, it's a little bit more wispy and it's got some of that webby stuff. Just adds a little bit more bulk towards the front of the fly. But when it is in the water and gets swept back, it's just going to create a nice silhouette. So similar thing on the top with the olive marabou. Tie that down good. Trim off the excess. Sweep it all back, cover up those butts really good. And so, like I said, normally you could finish it here, whip finish, color the head. I'm going to add just a little bit of a red dubbing on the front to create a hot spot. I just pulled out some Sinyo's laser dub that I had laying on the table, but ice dub would work fine, or really any dubbing. You're not going to use a whole lot. Just fill up some of that space in the front. Thin noodle. Wrap it forward, kind of pin back some of that marabou. Go ahead and build up a little bit of a thread head in front of that to make things nice and even. And whip finish and cut my thread. brush out some of that dubbing just to kind of give it a little bit of a smoother transition back into the body. And then finish it off, I color the thread with a little bit of a red Sharpie, and then put some hard as nails head cement on, and that's it. So tie one up. It's a good wade fishing fly. It's good on a lighter rod and catches fish. Tight lines.